routines and reminding us. Yes. So our theme this month has been power. And our youth chose the topic today that you always have power. And it looks like they've chosen to go back to the other building, so I've gotcha. You always have power. Always. When do you have it? Always. Always. There's never a moment when you don't. There's times we don't feel it. There's times when we can't see it. There's times when we have let circumstances or other people's power eclipse our vision of our own. But we always have it. But in order to maintain it, we have to regenerate. The image comes to me of things like batteries or your cell phone, even something like a solar panel. Okay? It's bringing in energy because it taps into an energetic source. Okay? A battery's going to run out of juice, but there's always a potential within it of restoring itself. We always have a power within us, but your human capacity power runs out unless you tap it in with your inexhaustible spiritual power. Okay? Your human power can only take you so far. You get exhausted, you get tired, weary, worn out, confused, and it only goes so far. Okay? But even in those moments, just like when you think, I can't love anymore, that doesn't mean love has died. It just means you're not tapped into that inexhaustible love. If you have writer's block, that doesn't mean creativity in the world has stopped. It just means you're blocked. If there's chaos or whatnot in your home, or you're having some kind of discordant relationship with somebody, that doesn't mean that love suddenly walked out the door. You might have walked out the door, but love is still in the room waiting for somebody to express it. Okay? Love doesn't walk out the door. Love is always there. We convince ourselves that we are no more than what's going on. We identify too much with the circumstances and the conditions that are going on in our lives, and we begin to think that that's who we are. We live in this global paradigm of not enoughness, and it's everywhere. It's just extraordinary, this sense of the not enoughness. Insufficiency. There isn't enough. I don't have enough. I am not enough. There's not enough. I don't have enough. Or I'm not going to have enough. Therefore, I am not enough. And it's insatiable. And I think it's so important for us, particularly where we are now in our socio-political climate, to not cower down, to not get depressed, to not get immobilized by all of the things that we see. Yes? Okay? And if it's going to do that to you, then maybe you need to chill out a little bit. Now listen to what I'm saying. When Jesus, and the reason why I'm using Jesus now, because he's my main man in terms of an archetype of a way to be in the world. And if there's something that Jesus was doing, then that shows me possibility. And if there's things that even Jesus couldn't do, then I let it go. Even Jesus couldn't please everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody didn't like Jesus. And he wasn't exactly thanked and rewarded for all his good work. And his homies, his people closest to him, sold him down the river. So times when I think I'm a bad manager, hey, Jesus didn't do no better. I'm just saying. So, well, it's inner light. What can I say? So in the story of Jesus, after the crucifixion, and there's this window period. It's like the metamorphosis. The caterpillar to the butterfly, there's the tomb, this 3 day. And it says that as he resurrected, he's in a transfigured state. Okay, that's not like flesh and bone, that people are able to observe him, but he's transfigured. Now, everybody wants to be around him, and they want to act like nothing's happened, like, hey, he's back. And Jesus is like, no, I'm here, but I'm not like back on the block. There's something that's really happened to me, and it's not good for me to go back into that older vibration. Okay? Something very powerful has happened to me, and I'm going to lose that power if I go back to being what I was before. Hang with me now. You see yourself in Jesus. So he's quoted as saying, touch me not. Touch me not. And this touch isn't to put your hands on something. This touch means to exert an influence over. Like when we say, that was very touching, or I was very touched by that. It's not a physical thing, it moved me in some kind of way. He says, touch me not, for I am not yet ascended, lest you drag me back. Okay? Touch me not, for I am not ascended, lest you drag me back. Now, there's a particular verb tense in Greek. You've heard me talk about this a lot, called the Presidents Parrot, which is what this shows up in Scripture, which means a command to do something continuous and repeated. So it's not just for this moment. This touch me not, it's not just like right now. Like if I tell you, be still, you don't know if I'm talking about just now, or if I say forgive, you can't tell in English. But within the language itself, it means now and continue to do it. Not just this moment. Okay? Forgive. Within the language itself, we're questioning, well, like how many times? But within the language itself, when you're commanded to do it, it means you're going to keep doing it. Over and over and over and over. It's in the language. Are you with me? In the structure of it itself. And then when it's in the negative, touch me not, it means not only continuously do something, but whatever that is, it's already been taking place. Okay. And the example I always use that helps people get it, it's when your mama looks at you and says, don't lie. Don't you lie to me. That means check yourself. Do not let the next words come out of your mouth be a lie. Don't even think about ever lying to me. And you need to stop it because you know you've already been lying. By the time your mama says, don't lie to me, you already been lying. It's in the language. It's that thing that's in the voice inflection there, it's in the language. Touch me not. Don't put your influence on me. Not now, not in the future. And you've been influencing me. You've been influencing me. And there's something going on with me. I am not yet ascended, and you might drag me back. Listen to what I'm saying. We are in this tremendous growth period right now. Individually, as a society, we are stepping into some enormous power. And you have to know where you are within the scheme of things. Okay? For some of us, it's that time to speak up and to be on the front line. And for some of us, it's our time to transfigure, to sort of die to our old ways, to be born into something new. And it's not really the time to do the direct engagement, because if I do, I'm going to lose what I'm learning and I'm going to go back to the old. Are you with me? And I'm sure you've had this in your life. I'm sure maybe it was the breakup of a relationship or something. And there was that time it was just a touch me not. You know what I'm talking about? I can't party now. I can't go and I can't hang over here and I can't do this thing and I can't do that thing because I'm consecrating myself. When you go into recovery, ooh, baby, that's a touch me not. Ooh, that first year, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's a I can't stay riveted in what I used to do before because it drains my energy. It sucks the vitality of my power away. It doesn't mean that I lose my power. It drains. It's like I go from being 100 watts to 10 watts. Okay? You always have your power. You can't lose your power, but we can do things that are more empowering, and we can do things that are disempowering. Okay? And if you find yourself so caught up in something that you lose sight of yourself, if you find yourself so riveted in something that the more that you consume of it, the more convinced you are of how bad things are, you need to chill out from that. That's not a good diet for you. Do you have to act like it's not there? No, you don't have to eat it. You don't have to eat it. Our bodies need the equivalent of cleanses sometimes. Okay? You just got to lay off of it. Lay off the caffeine, lay off the sugar, lay off of it, because we get diseases. We get inflammation. We get diabetes. We get this thing or that thing, yes? And we're off balance. Well, it's like that with our mental diets. It's like that with our spiritual diets. Some of us are consuming junk food. High calorie, no nutrition. High drama calorie, but no spiritual nutrition. Okay? Use your power. Got an amen corner up here. Use your power wisely. Use your power wisely. Tap into the stuff that's going to enliven you. Tap into the things that's going to regenerate you. The implications of what I'm saying are very strong. There's some people you don't need to share so much with. And they could be people really, really close to you. I'm not saying you've got to cut people out. But if I go back to Jesus, sometimes when Jesus would heal people, he would tell them, don't speak of this. Don't speak of this. Don't even tell anybody about this, lest the condition come back. Because if you're too new in it, and you go telling people who don't believe it, and you put yourself in the position of having to defend what's going on and what's happening and all the rest of that, the healings in your body, the stuff of your creativity, what's happening in your finances, your forgiveness processes and whatnot, by the time you get through engaging them, you're on that vibration. There are times when Jesus would tell people, go and sin no more. Now, we think of sin as bad behavior. That's not what sin is. Sin linguistically means missing the mark. Missing the mark, like an archer. It's missing the mark in your relationship to the divine. You're off. You're off. So Jesus says, look, basically, I've done a little intervention here. I've helped your body, or I've helped something with you, but it won't stay. That adjustment won't stay if you go back, thinking what you were thinking, showing up how you were showing up, feeling how you were feeling, considering yourself as separate from the divine as you thought that you were before this moment. If you go back to that, there's not a healing that even Jesus can do that'll stick. If you take your power and use it to keep missing the mark. If you keep missing the mark with it. There is no evil in the world. There's no evil in nature. You can't find evil. The only place where there's ever evil is where there are people. Evil is the byproduct of what happens when you miss the mark. Evil is that thing, the way in which we act when we don't know who we are, when we don't know that we are spiritual beings. That's when you find evil. Beware of thinking of evil as being the people. Listen to what I'm saying. There are good people who do evil things, but there are not evil people. If you believe there are evil people, then you believe in duality. If you believe in evil people, then you don't believe in oneness. If you believe in evil people, then you've got a God of good and a God of bad. You have some people coming out of some source or substance that's different than what everything else is coming out of. You believe that there's some other kind of creative energy or force that is actually in opposition to the only thing that is. We get lost, we get off, we get disconnected. It's the equivalent of having spiritual amnesia. But what happens if somebody has spiritual amnesia and they forget who they are? It's part of our job to help them remember. You forget who you are, and then I don't act like I know who you are. We're all lost. Because not only are you no longer connected to me in your mind, I'm no longer connected to you in my mind. So now we got double amnesia. You don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. I've forgotten who you are. And the only way I can forget who you are is to forget who I am. Now we all lost. How are you using your power? Are you using your power to create the world that you say you want to be in? Or are we using our power to magnify the very stuff that we know isn't working or isn't right? I remember my grandmother used to tell me all the time, because I was always busy trying to right the wrongs. She used to say, Deborah, to catch a crook, you got to think like a crook. I know what she was saying now. To catch a crook, you got to think like a crook. There was something that was mentioned in the announcements. Somebody go get the kids over, please. And in the announcements, it was mentioned this thing called Guardian Speaks. And they're doing a debut here. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that is, because I think it caps what I'm talking about now perfectly. It started by Cassandra Davies and Deb Bradby. Cassandra is co-lead, along with Russell Downing, of our prison outreach program. She's been doing that for us with many years. And Deb Bradby for maybe 3 years or something like that. They are both ex-law enforcement. And they've been deeply, deeply moved by the prison work. At the last graduation ceremony that we had last June, Deb came out to the fellas as ex-law enforcement. That's something that she hadn't been saying. And it was so interesting. The moment she said it, a couple of guys yelled out, I knew it! I knew it! So Deb isn't going with us right now. But what she and Cassandra have done, it's just extraordinary. They're creating a new network to heal people in law enforcement. Transforming the badge. Guardians speak. Transforming the badge. They did their first podcast, and we should make sure if it's not on our social network thing, it needs to be on there. I listened to it. It is on there. It's really good. They've done it extremely professionally. And here, they're going to have people in law enforcement here, locally and whatnot. And it's all about healing the traumas, about how they show up, and essentially the place of dehumanization that they would have to go to within their own selves to be able to treat people in such a dehumanizing way. So everyone's humanity was going down. And it's all about recapturing the humanity and the courage that it takes to live in that place of the oneness, because too much of this dualistic system in the law enforcement is us versus them. A militarized approach. What happened to peace officer? When did we go from officers of the peace to law enforcement? Of a combatant mentality, where it's more about, am I going to get hurt, than I'm here to protect you. I don't know when that shift happened. But to a certain extent, too much of our society has made that shift. Where we've gone from the civilizations and the societies of peace to some kind of law enforcement, to a combatant attitude with everybody all around, where it's more about making sure I'm protected than protecting you, and making sure that we all come out of this thing whole. We have work to do. But we can only do it from an empowered state. By plugging in to the divine through our prayers, our affirmation, our forgiveness work, our compassion, our creativity, our being in service, our focusing our attention on the stuff that cleanses us and purifies us and uplifts us, and abstaining from the mental, emotional, and spiritual junk food. We always have the power. We just get to choose how strong and vital it is. Yes? Yes. Let's take a breath.